In poll-bound Assam, the campaign trail is on. The political leaders of all the political parties are heading towards the stage. The BJP is aggressively pushing the development agenda of Assam in particular and the Northeast in general, whereas the opposition political parties are trying to push agendas such as CAA and NRC. I am joined by MoS PMO and also Donor Minister Dr. Jitendra Singh on this broadcast. Dr. Singh, how do you see this election agenda as far as the state of Assam is concerned?
No, I think as far as the state of Assam is concerned, let's be very clear. It's a foregone conclusion. BJP is returning to power. Returning to power with a very decisive mandate, which is going to be higher than the mandate of the last election. And regardless of whatever certain poll surveys say, I think the victory is going to be not only decisive, but it's going to be, and the most remarkable factor of this victory would be that this victory is happening on the basis of the pro-incumbency. Normally, the ruling parties are faced with the challenge of meeting the anti-incumbency forces and factors, but here it is pro-incumbency in the sense that the people of Assam have made up their mind. The manner in which they have seen the working of the BJP-led government, NDA government in Assam, working in close coordination with the central government headed by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. They are totally convinced that there is no other option to this, and this is the only way to the future of Assam, whether it be in the terms of the development activity, whether it be in the restoration and sustenance of peace, which has also happened in the last 5 years, and the most importantly, the personal outreach of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The people of Assam are really, impressed, and I think this is something incredible for them to notice that Prime Minister Narendra Modi, in the last 6 years, because there has been an intervening period of Corona, has travelled to Northeast, visited Northeast as many as 43 times, out of which as many as 35 times was Assam. Now, this is quite in contrast to the visits of his predecessors, and I think if you put together the visits of all the predecessors together, the number of the visits by Prime Minister Modi to Assam would be higher. And more remarkably also, when you see it in the light of the fact that the immediate past Prime Minister happened to be an elected Rajya Sabha member from Assam. But most of the people will tell you that he might have visited Assam only to fill in his nomination papers, or maybe even not. So this huge personal outreach by Prime Minister Narendra Modi was a reiteration of the fact that, look here, this is a government led by Modi, which places Northeast very high on the priority, with the realization that if India has to grow as a whole, as a universal power, it is important that the northeastern regions and the largest state of Northeast, namely Assam, has to be brought at par with the more developed states like Gujarat, Maharashtra, and he has walked the talk. The number of institutions that have happened, the transformation in terms of transport, roads, rails, air connectivity, and for the first time, you see, you would recall that, even being a media person, you would appreciate more, that before the Modi government came in at the center and then the BJP government came in over here, Assam often, if at all, made news for A, either insurgency incidents, or B, either big office, high office scandal scams. But in the last 5 years, and I would also like you to actually make the audience, your viewers, aware of the fact that Prime Minister Modi took over at the center in 2014. But in the intervening 2 years, we didn't have a BJP-led government over here. And in those 2 years, we were unable to push in the development agenda as fast as we actually wished to, or as fast as the Prime Minister wished to. So it was only later on, 2 years after the Modi government had taken over the center, when we had the opportunity of the BJP government taking over in Guwahati, the coordination became perfect. And today, as far as the donor ministry is concerned, you refer to my role as a responsibility as a donor in the donor ministry as well. We are in a position to spend all our funds much before the expiry of the financial year, by mostly December, whereas earlier it was a norm. The funds would remain unutilized, the projects would remain just in the lackluster form.